I never thought much about the faint humming sound in my apartment until the day I traced it to a tiny lens staring back at me from the smoke detector. What followed shattered my sense of safety forever. My name is Emily, and this happened last summer when I rented an Airbnb in a quiet suburb outside Seattle. It was supposed to be a relaxing getaway, a cozy two-bedroom house with a wraparound porch, perfect for unwinding after a stressful year at work. The listing promised privacy and serenity, with reviews raving about the homey feel and attentive host. Little did I know that attentiveness went far beyond fresh linens and welcome baskets. I arrived late on a Friday evening, the sun dipping low behind the evergreens that lined the street. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth, and the house looked exactly like the photos, quaint, with white siding and flower boxes under the windows. I let myself in with the key code provided, and immediately felt a wave of relief wash over me. No neighbors in sight, just the soft rustle of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. I dropped my bags in the living room, flicked on the lights, and explored the place. The kitchen was spotless, the bathroom had that new tile shine, and the bedroom featured a king-sized bed with plush pillows. It felt like a sanctuary. That first night, I settled in with a book and a glass of wine, the house creaking gently as it cooled in the evening chill. I chalked up the occasional odd noise to an old structure settling, nothing unusual. But as I lay in bed, scrolling through my phone, I noticed something peculiar. The Wi-Fi signal was unusually strong, even in the far corners of the house. I didn't think much of it. Maybe the host had invested in good routers. Sleep came easily, though my dreams were fragmented, filled with vague sensations of being observed, like eyes lingering on me from the shadows. The next morning, I woke to sunlight filtering through the curtains, feeling refreshed. I made coffee in the kitchen, enjoying the view of the backyard through the window. That's when I first felt it, a subtle prickle on the back of my neck, as if someone was standing just out of sight. I turned quickly, but the room was empty. Shrugging it off as travel jitters, I headed out for a hike in the nearby woods. The day passed pleasantly with fresh air and the crunch of leaves underfoot. But when I returned that evening, the unease crept back. I decided to cook dinner, chopping vegetables on the counter while listening to a podcast. Midway through, my knife slipped, and I nicked my finger. Not badly, but enough to draw blood. I cursed under my breath and rinsed it in the sink, glancing up at the ceiling vent above me. For a split second, I thought I saw a glint, like light reflecting off glass. I stared, but it was gone. Probably just the overhead light playing tricks. Still, my skin crawled, a cold shiver tracing down my spine despite the warm kitchen. That night, as I prepared for bed, I couldn't shake the feeling. I double-checked the locks on the doors and windows, peering out into the darkening yard. The porch light cast long shadows, but everything seemed normal. In the bedroom, I changed into pajamas, feeling oddly exposed under the bright ceiling fixture. I turned off the lights and climbed under the covers, the sheets cool against my skin. Sleep was elusive. Every creak amplified in the silence, and the air felt heavier, charged with an invisible presence. Around 2 a.m., I jolted awake to a soft click, like a camera shutter. My heart pounded as I sat up, straining to listen. Nothing. Just the wind, I told myself. But curiosity, or paranoia, got the better of me. I grabbed my phone's flashlight and scanned the room. The beam swept over the dresser, the nightstand, the smoke detector mounted high on the wall. Wait! Smoke detectors don't usually have tiny red lights, do they? I stood on the bed for a closer look, my pulse racing. There, embedded in the plastic casing, was a small lens, barely noticeable, with a faint glow indicating it was active. Panic surged through me, an icy wave that made my hands tremble. Was this a camera? I yanked it down, the device coming loose with a pop, wires dangling. It wasn't a standard smoke detector. It was heavier, with a micro SD slot and what looked like a Wi-Fi antenna. My mind reeled. Who had put this here? The host? A previous guest? I checked the other rooms frantically, finding similar devices disguised in air vents, clock radios, and even a picture frame in the living room. There were at least 5, all positioned to capture every angle of the house. I called the police, my voice shaking as I explained. They arrived within the hour, their flashlights cutting through the night. The officers confirmed they were hidden cameras, likely streaming live footage. The host denied everything when contacted, claiming it must be a prank by a former renter. But as they investigated, they found the feed linked to an IP address traced to a nearby address, the host's own home. He'd been watching guests for months, collecting videos for who knows what purpose. The thought of him seeing me sleep, cook, undress, it made my stomach churn, a deep nausea that lingered. I left that night, driving home in the dark, every shadow on the road feeling like eyes following me. Even now, back in my own apartment, I check every device, every corner. The police said they destroyed the footage, but how can I be sure? Sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear that faint hum again, and I wonder if I'm truly alone. When my grandmother passed away, she left me her old Victorian house in a small town in upstate New York. It was a generous gift, but one that came with whispers of family secrets I'd rather forget. Stories of her reclusive nature and odd habits in her final years. I moved in during the fall, when the leaves turned fiery red and the air carried a chill that seeped into the bones. The house was a relic, with creaking floorboards, high ceilings, and rooms filled with antique furniture covered in dust sheets. The scent of mothballs and aged wood hung heavy, mingling with the faint mustiness of disuse. I spent the first few days cleaning, uncovering relics from my grandmother's life. Yellowed photos, old letters, and peculiar knickknacks. It felt therapeutic at first, a way to connect with her memory. But soon, small things began to unsettle me. I'd place a book on the table, only to find it moved slightly when I returned. Doors I swore I'd closed would creak open in the night. And there was the temperature, always a degree colder in certain spots, like invisible drafts lingering in the living room and master bedroom. I attributed it to the house's age, its drafty windows, and poor insulation. Still, a nagging doubt grew, like an itch I couldn't scratch. One evening, as rain pattered against the panes, I decided to explore the attic. The stairs groaned under my weight, and the air up there was stifling, thick with dust that danced in my flashlight beam. Boxes of forgotten items lined the walls, clothes, books, and oddly, a collection of old electronics, VCRs, radios, and what looked like surveillance equipment from the 90s. My grandmother had been paranoid, family said, installing alarms after a break-in decades ago. I dismissed it and headed back down, but that night, sleep evaded me. Lying in bed, I felt the weight of unseen eyes, the room's darkness pressing in like a living thing. The turning point came a week later. I was in the kitchen, brewing tea, when I noticed a loose panel in the wall behind the pantry. Curiosity piqued, I pried it open with a screwdriver. Inside was a small cavity, and nestled there was a modern wireless camera, its lens pointed directly at the living area. My breath caught, a cold sweat breaking out on my forehead. It was tiny, disguised as part of the wiring, but the red indicator light betrayed it. Who had installed this? My grandmother, or someone after her death? Heart hammering, I searched the house methodically. In the bedroom, behind a vent grill, another camera watched the bed. In the bathroom, one hid in the shower head, water-resistant and insidious. The living room had 2, one in a bookshelf clock, another in a fake plant. Each discovery amplified the dread, my skin prickling with revulsion. I imagined eyes on me as I ate, slept, bathed, every intimate moment violated. I called a technician to sweep the place. He found 8 in total, all connected to a hidden router in the basement that uploaded footage to a cloud server. The account was in my grandmother's name, but logs showed access from an unknown device long after her death. Someone, Perhaps a relative, a neighbor, or a stranger had been tapping in, watching the empty house, waiting for a new occupant. The police investigated, but the trail went cold. The server was anonymous. The footage deleted remotely when I disconnected the system. I sold the house soon after, but the paranoia lingers. In my new apartment, I cover webcams, check vents obsessively. Sometimes, in quiet moments, I feel that chill again, wondering if the watcher found me anew. The house may be gone, but the eyes feel eternal. Living with a roommate seemed like a smart idea when I first moved to Chicago for my job. Split rent, shared chores, and someone to talk to after long days. Alex was perfect on paper, clean, quiet, and respectful. But over time, the little quirks added up to something far more sinister. We found the apartment through Craigslist, a spacious two-bedroom in a high-rise with views of the city skyline. The air was always a bit stale from the central AC, and the hum of traffic below provided constant white noise. Alex moved in first, handling the utilities, and I arrived a week later. From the start, he was polite but distant, spending most evenings in his room with the door closed. I didn't mind. I valued my privacy too. The unease began subtly. I'd come home to find my things slightly rearranged. A mug in the wrong cabinet, my laptop charger coiled differently. Alex always had an excuse. I was cleaning, or must have bumped it. Then there were the sounds at night, faint clicks and whirs from the walls like machinery waking up. The building was old, I reasoned, with pipes and vents that groaned. One sweltering afternoon, I decided to deep clean the place. While vacuuming under the couch, my hand brushed something hard attached to the underside, a small black box with a lens. My stomach dropped, a clammy fear gripping me. It was a camera, wireless and motion activated. Why was it there? I confronted Alex that evening, holding it up. He paled, stammering that it was for security, to catch thieves. But his eyes darted, sweat beading on his brow. Doubt festered. That night, I couldn't sleep, the air thick and oppressive. I started checking everywhere. The kitchen clock had a hidden cam, the hallway smoke alarm another. In my bedroom, one was taped behind the headboard, angled at the bed. Horror washed over me in waves. Had he been watching me change, sleep, live? The physical sensation was visceral. Nausea rising, skin crawling as if invisible fingers traced my back. I installed a detector app on my phone, sweeping the apartment. It lit up like a Christmas tree. Cameras in the bathroom mirror, the living room lamp, even the fridge handle. Alex's room was locked, but I picked it when he was out. Inside, his computer screen showed a grid of live feeds, every room, time-stamped videos going back months. He'd been recording me, cataloging my routines, my vulnerabilities. I called the cops, my voice trembling with rage and fear. They arrested him. Turns out he had a history of stalking exes using tech to invade their lives. The footage included private moments I'd never share, implied threats in his notes. He claimed it was just curiosity, but the implication hung heavy. What if he'd escalated? I moved out immediately, but the trust is broken. In my new place, alone, I still feel watched. The city's lights outside mocking my isolation. Every hum, every shadow reminds me. Privacy is an illusion, easily shattered. Upgrading to a smart home system was supposed to make life easier. Voice-controlled lights, automated thermostats, and security cams for peace of mind. But in my condo on the outskirts of Los Angeles, it became a gateway to terror. The installation was seamless, the tech guy wiring everything in a single afternoon. The air hummed with new energy, lights dimming on command, the thermostat adjusting to my preferences. At first, it was convenient. "Alexa, play music," and the room filled with sound. The cameras were discreet, mounted in corners for monitoring entrances. I felt secure. The app on my phone showing live feeds whenever I wanted. The oddities started small, lights flickering on at odd hours, the thermostat dropping to freezing despite settings. I'd wake shivering, breath visible in the cold air, only to find the app glitching. Then the cameras. I'd check the feed and see nothing out of place, but a delay, like someone else was accessing it first. The app logs showed logins from unknown IPs, but customer support blamed server issues. One rainy night, as thunder rumbled outside, I sat on the couch watching TV. The power surged, and for a moment, the screen glitched to a feed from inside my bedroom. It wasn't my app. It was broadcasting on the TV. There I was, earlier that day, undressing, oblivious. My blood ran cold, a prickling sensation spreading across my scalp. Frantic, I unplugged everything, but the dread built. Using a hidden camera detector I ordered online, I scanned the place. The smart smoke detectors? Cameras. The doorbell cam? Hacked. Even the outlets had pinhole lenses, feeding data to an external server. Someone had infiltrated the system, turning my home into a panopticon. The police traced the hacks to a neighbor, a tech-savvy loner obsessed with surveillance art. He'd been watching multiple units, collecting footage for dark web sales. The implication that my life was commodified, my secrets exposed, left me reeling, a lingering nausea that food couldn't settle. I ripped out the system, going analog, but the fear persists. In the quiet, I feel the ghost of those eyes wondering if the hack was truly the end. Homes are supposed to be safe. Mine became a stage, and the audience may still be out there waiting in the dark.